If you grew up in church, it's quite possible that you learned how to be focused on good works, how to do the right thing, how to say the right thing, how to be holy, how to be good, how to be devout, how to be disciplined, all of those things. And those ideas aren't necessarily bad per se, but when God talks about righteousness, going all the way back to Abraham, he says Abraham was made righteous by faith. We know Abraham messed up a lot, actually, but God declared him righteous by faith. And then even when we move over to the New Testament, and the disciples came to Jesus and they said, "Hey, Jesus, what do I need to do the works of God? What do I need to do to please you? What do I need to do do things right?" And he said, "Believe. The works of God is to believe." And I have found that it is a lot easier to do a whole bunch of different stuff than just believe God. But a lot of times, I think that's the thing he's asking for us first. He wants us to believe him because until our heart is right, until our heart is filled with faith, until our heart is in alignment with God's heart, then we can be doing all these things, but it could come from the wrong motive. This is why God could look at the Pharisees and say, "You guys do all the right things and you look good on the outside, but inside you are dead. Inside you don't know me." So, our heart, what we are actually believing, the thoughts that are going through our brain, the things that are really going on in our inner man, that's actually so much more important than the outward things that we do. Because sometimes the outward things that we do, sometimes it can be even more about pleasing other people, right? Or trying to come off or present a certain way versus pleasing God. But God, he sees our heart and he dwells in our heart, and he's looking at the inner man, he's looking at our spirit, because that is the aspect of us that is internal. So this is why faith is so important, because faith is connected to our spirit. It's connected to our spirit man, which is internal. What we do outwardly in the flesh, in this body, that it's all temporary anyways. So it's not to say that good actions or godly actions are bad. They are not. But they don't mean anything if they are not inspired by a heart of faith. And the good thing about faith is, there's one scripture where Jesus is talking to a man and the man says, "God, I believe, help my unbelief." Right? And I think there's something about just acknowledging when we don't really believe God, when we don't really have faith, or when we're struggling to trust what he's saying. Like, those are the kind of conversations that I think God actually is really waiting for, because he already knows, really already. He's not surprised at all if we feel like we don't have faith, if we feel like we don't believe, and if we are running around trying to do other things because we simply don't believe God. He already knows. And so he invites us into that conversation. They're saying, "Hey, God, like, I want to believe what you're saying about me in the word, or I want to believe what you've said. I want to believe this, maybe this prophecy I got, or this thing that I feel in my heart. I want to believe it, but I can't." He doesn't condemn us for that. He invites us actually into those conversations so that he can give us the faith that we need. He can change our heart, because we can't change our hearts. But we have to first start by acknowledging if there is maybe a lack of faith, if there is unbelief. We have to acknowledge that and then allow God to really do that change in our heart, so that all the works that we do are stemming from a heart of worship, or stemming from a purified heart, versus just coming from a place of works and performance. Because God is so much more interested in our heart towards him, and so much more interested in our motive, and interested in the unseen things than he is what we can produce outwardly. Because honestly, he doesn't need any of our works. He doesn't need it. But he desires to connect with us in a real intimate way. And you can only really be intimate or know somebody when they are honest about the things that are going on inside of them. And I think that's why God is so much more interested in our faith and our belief and our disposition than he is what we can just do outwardly.